In a world shattered by war and chaos, hope was a rare thing. And yet, in the middle of all that darkness, there was once a fragile little angel. Her wings, black as midnight, were broken and torn, almost useless. Still, her heart was burning. She swore to herself that one day she'd grow strong enough to bring an end to inequality and injustice. Time passed, and that fragile angel became the nightmare of the world, the Black-Winged Conqueror. Of course, every great villain gets a raid party. That's where Lufa's Mathil came in, a band of fearless adventurers who gathered to strike her down. And trust me, these guys weren't noobs. They were legends. But the Conqueror was on a different level. When the battle started, she unleashed power so overwhelming that even the strongest heroes couldn't comprehend it. Every strike, every spell thrown at her, she answered with something greater. Fireballs, she crushed them. Sword strikes, she turned them aside like paper. No matter how fierce the onslaught, Lufa always had a bigger, nastier reply. Still, she wasn't untouchable. The Mathil party's strength was terrifying. Their combined force left scars even she couldn't hide. Yet through it all, she carried herself like a queen toying with peasants, like she was still the one in control. And then came the twist. One of the enemy warriors deliberately took a fatal wound, sacrificing himself to trigger a climactic ability. The move caught Lufa completely off guard, ripping open a gap in her defenses. The mage was ready, and with a roar he unleashed the subspace seal. Chains of pure light erupted, coiling around the Conqueror, dragging her into the abyss. She struggled, her wings thrashing violently, her aura boiling with power. But slowly, the seal held. Slowly, impossibly, the Black-Winged Conqueror was trapped. And her response? Not despair, not anger. She laughed. A wicked laugh echoed from the prison as she taunted her captors. If you've got the skill to take me down, maybe you'll even survive against Orm, the Demon King. Even in defeat, her pride burned bright. Back in reality, a boy sat at his computer, scratching his head. He had lost. His character, Lufa's male, the Black-Winged Conqueror herself, had been sealed. But hey, at least she'd gone down swinging, right? He sighed. Then all of nowhere, his screen flickered. And appeared the goddess of creation, the literal deity who shaped the world of Xgate. With a gentle yet overwhelming voice, she asked him a question that felt way too real. Would you like to take on a new role within this world? The boy's heart skipped. Was this some kind of dev event? A personal message? After all, his character, Lufa's male, the Black-Winged Conqueror herself, had become iconic. She was as famous as the Demon King himself. Recognized in lore, officially acknowledged. Naturally, he said yes, without hesitation. And in that instance, he was pulled in. No login screen, no loading bar, just a flash. And suddenly, he was there. A group of warriors had just broken the seal of the Black-Winged Conqueror. They stared in awe at the figure standing before them. Touching his new body, the boy froze. Something felt wrong. His chest was far too generous. His reflection, Lufa herself, looked back at him. Somehow, impossibly, he had been reborn as his own character. When he'd first created her, the logic was simple. If I'm going to stare at a character for hours, she'd better be beautiful. What he never expected was actually becoming her. And when he tried to speak, the words that came out weren't questions. They were commands, fierce, absolute, and so heavy with authority that the adventurers collapsed to the ground, as though gravity itself had crushed them. He realized, horrified, that Lufa's racial ability, intimidation, had activated. Pulling it back, He tried to calm things down, but the damage was done. An elf among them went pale, whispering in terror, "The Conqueror, she's returned," then promptly fainted. The others explained she had been sealed for 200 years. The Demon King still ruled MCGRs. The spell they used wasn't meant to free her. It was supposed to summon a hero. Instead, they'd resurrected their greatest nightmare. And in that moment, the boy knew he wasn't just playing anymore. He was inside the game. But instead of rage or revenge, Lufa surprised them all. She told the adventurers to forget she existed, to summon another hero instead. She had no interest in fighting the Demon King anymore. Revenge for her sealing? That battle was over. No, this wasn't going to be the story of a conqueror's return. This would be something new. The journey of a broken-winged queen searching for a new path. With that, Lufa spread her black wings and took to the skies. Freedom coursing through her veins, joy bubbling as she realized she could still fly. She had been pulled into her favorite game, not behind the keyboard, but in flesh and blood. Sure, one day he might need to find a way back to his world, but that could wait. Soon, she stumbled upon a towering landmark, the Sky Tower of Mafile, her old fortress. Nostalgia hit like a truck. Though dusty and abandoned, the grand hall still stood proud. She sat upon her throne, memories flooding in, nights of drinking, laughter, and grand plans with her companions. And then, a figure appeared. A young girl, eyes sparkling with devotion, ran toward her. "My lord, you've returned!" Lufa blinked. Wait, who? The girl introduced herself as Dina, the Conqueror's faithful advisor. Only then did the player remember. He had once placed an NPC here with a half-baked backstory. Somehow, that was enough for Dina to grow her own will. She had waited for 2 centuries. Ashamed, Lufa apologized for forgetting. Dina forgave instantly, explaining how she had safeguarded the tower all this time. From her, Lufa learned of the world's current state. The 7 heroes who had once defeated her had each founded nations. 2 centuries passed, 4 were dead, 3 remained. The Demon King still lived, and the 12 celestial stars of conquest, NPC beasts Lufa herself had created, still roamed, some loyal, some serving the Demon King. Dina suggested finding and uniting them once more. The closest, Ares, camped near a volcano in the land of Svel. But there was a problem. Lufa was too well known. Those black wings? A dead giveaway. And besides, they were broke. No gold, no resources. So Dina proposed going undercover. Register at the Adventurers Guild, take small jobs, build up slowly. And thus, cloaked and hidden, Lufa walked among the people again. At the guild tavern, nostalgia hit once more. Adventurers laughed, drank, brawled. Lufa stood before the quest board, considering jobs. Lost cats, hard pass. That was for beastmen. Exterminating orcs, porks as they were called, sounded better. Not only was the pay good, but they also had a slim chance of dropping rare loot. Perfect. Together, Lufa and Denna traveled to Isle Village, where the elder begged them for help. Porks had been rampaging, kidnapping women, killing young men. The villagers were desperate. When Lufa entered the orc nest, she prepared herself. She checked her status, max level, everything in order. Yet, something felt off. There's a difference between pressing a controller and actually swinging the sword yourself. Still, she raised her hand and snapped her fingers. Alchemic creation. Dozens of magical swords erupted from the ground, soaring into the air before tearing through the port guards like paper. Blood sprayed, limbs flew, and Lufa? She felt nothing. The horde poured out. Their massive leader bellowed, shaking the ground. Dina trembled in terror. But to Lufa, they were slow, pathetic. She ripped through them like a butcher tearing meat. Heads rolled, screams echoed. The orc chief charged in fury, smashing the ground, roaring with hatred. And yet, she remained untouched. Wrapping him in flames, she pressed her fist to his forehead. His skull burst like a melon. Silence. Dina stared in horror and awe. Lufa simply sighed. This wasn't a battle. It was a massacre. And so, the story of the Black-Winged Conqueror's second life began. Not as the villain sealed in history, but as a legend reborn, walking a new path. Check out the videos on your screen and hit subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter in her insane adventure.